Daddy, what would your superpower be? The author Nir's daughter asked him. Huh? He wasn't paying attention. He was glued to his phone. When he looked up minutes later, his daughter had disappeared. There, the thought arose. What if my superpower could be being indistractable? This is Detox Dan presenting the top 5 takeaways of Nir Eyal's Indistractable. Takeaway number 1. Traction versus distraction. Meet Indistractable Joe. Yes, I made this very underrated superhero up. He doesn't have superhuman IQ or Leonardo da Vinci type creativity, but he is uttermost indistractable. He has figured out that spending time in traction, i.e. the things that moves us towards our goals, makes life more fulfilling. When tempted with even the juiciest form of distraction, the things that moves us away from our goals, Joe just brushes it off and gets back to his monotone but important tasks. Winning the battle of traction versus distraction might be the most important thing one can do in modern day life. Having an intact attention span is a rare quality that is becoming extremely valued, and describing it like a superpower isn't much of an exaggeration. All the time Joe spends doing the right things has over time accumulated for him, and everything he could ever wish for seems to fall in his lap, like his dream coding job and his cutie, fairly indistractable Jane. But how did he actually get here? He followed some simple strategies that we will learn about in takeaways 2 to 5, and so could you. Takeaway number 2. Time for traction. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe famously said, "If I know how you spend your time, then I know what might become of you." To become who you were meant to be, you have to take time seriously. About 2,000 years earlier, the Roman philosopher Seneca wrote, "People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy." The battle for time is a gruesome one these days, and if you don't plan how to use your own time, someone else will. Indistractable Joe keeps a time-boxed schedule for his whole week. He has carefully distributed the time around what he truly values. At least a 30-minute block for meditation or exercise daily, time for reading, playing guitar, or hanging out with friends most evenings, around 6 hours of coding for work Monday to Friday. He does his 40-hour work week in 30 hours since he actually spends most of his working hours being productive. A long block for dating his fairly indistractable Jane, swapping between Saturdays and Sundays. 9 hours of sleep, and some small blocks for pure fun stuff. Joe thinks that balance is important. If his schedule feels too rigid at times, he just adds some Netflix or strategy games to the schedule. After all, if you plan the activity, it is not really a distraction anymore. To build your own time-box schedule, you can visualize life as 3 domains to structure it around: you, relationships, and work. Lastly, putting 15 minutes for reflecting and updating the schedule every Sunday will make sure you stay on track and make adjustments as life takes turns and your values change. Have in mind, when building your schedule, that you can only control your input. Structure that properly, and any output you desire will certainly follow sooner than you think. Takeaway number 3. Internal triggers. A lot of distraction is a motivation from within to escape discomfort and move towards pleasure. In the ancient Greece, Epicurus wrote, "By pleasure, we mean the absence of pain in the body and of trouble in the soul." Indistractable Joe has a couple of strategies up his sleeve to deal with this type of internal distraction. The first one is called surfing the urge. Whenever tempted with some distraction from within, Joe tells himself that he is allowed to give in to it if it's still there in 10 minutes. Very often the urge fades away naturally during that time, and the few times it doesn't, he's fine giving in to it. The other method he uses is called leaves on a stream method. He imagines himself sitting beside a soothing stream with leaves floating gently on it. Any uncomfortable thought that arises, he places on a leaf and watches it slowly swirl away. This makes it easier staying with the feeling while remaining tranquil and focused. He has also done his best to turn difficult work into play. The idea here is to pay close attention to the task at hand and look for nuance in it. You might see details you haven't noticed before that will keep your attention intact. Quote, "Fun is looking for the variability in something other people don't notice. It's breaking through the boredom and monotony to discover its hidden beauty. Takeaway number 4. Anti-distraction pacts. Pre-commitment is a powerful tool in Joe's arsenal. When we commit to something beforehand, the risk of distraction is reduced significantly. Marriage, for example, is a very serious form of pre-commitment. When we have made this pact with someone, it is easier not to get distracted by all the hypothetical Instagram models in our phones. But pre-commitment can be utilized on a much smaller scale. Joe has an effort pact with his workmate semi-indistractable Paul. 8 to 12 every weekday, they isolate themselves and make sure they hammer out some productive work. When Joe starts to get tired, a quick glance at Paul being productive usually helps him to get back on track. For his workout routine, Joe uses a prize pact instead. He put a $100 bill and a lighter next to his workout schedule. The author Nir actually did this exact thing and it worked like wonders. Unless he's certified sick, skipping a workout when it's scheduled means burning that $100 bill right up. For some magical reason. Okay, maybe not so magical, we just seem to hate losing money. Joe keeps hitting the gym when he has set out to. Lastly, around nutrition and overall health, Joe has made an identity pact. The most permanent way to change our behavior is to change how we view ourselves. When Joe is offered a donut, he replies, "I don't eat that," instead of, "I can't eat that." It is easier to avoid distraction when simply acting in line with your identity. Are you ready to make being indistractable a part of yours? Takeaway number 5. External triggers. We live in a time where external triggers have reached an all-time high. Think about it. If you have push notifications on, you have given someone else permission to disturb you at any time they desire 24/7. Almost sounds insane, doesn't it? Indistractable Joe has taken measure into his own hands, hacking back on his environment. He started with his phone, concluding that that was the biggest source of distraction in his life. Every app that hadn't been used in a while got deleted to clean up the clutter. Then he structured the apps so that only the apps he needed daily made it to the home screen. On the next screen, he kept the apps in the category Aspirations, which included health apps and Audible. On the last screen, he kept the so-called slot machines, apps that he used for fun but that was distractive. He only spent time there when his schedule actually allowed him. After that, it was time for the big one, notifications. He removed the sound on every single type of notification since it is the far most intrusive. When it came to sight, he only allowed the red circles on the app so nothing would pop up while the phone was locked. This way, Joe stopped being distracted by his phone but could still utilize it as the powerful tool it is. That was it for my top 5 takeaways of Nir Eyal's Indistractable. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and I'll see you next time.